I'm Chris Rodriguez Stanley.
My name is Jorge Rodriguez Stanley.
I am a native of West Virginia who left in the 90s, and I moved back to the town I grew up in with my husband, and we own a cafe, an inn, and some other things around town, and we're working to bring back a small town.
I am a communications specialist. I'm a social media manager, journalist, kind of everything that goes with communications. I grew up in the Florida Panhandle before moving to Los Angeles, where I met my husband. He was my first example of West Virginia. I'd never heard anything about the state growing up, and I didn't hear the bad, I didn't hear the good. I just knew it was a fun shape on the map. I was one of those. I grew up in a small town as a gay Latino kid in the Florida Panhandle, 15 minutes away from the Alabama state line, and just had to get out of there. So 2 weeks after I graduated college in Tallahassee, Florida, at Florida A&M University, go Rattlers, I moved to Los Angeles and was there for 7 years until the pandemic. And like a lot of people in the world, the pandemic really shifted a lot of my perspectives. It shifted my priorities and was the catalyst for us moving to my husband's small town to help revitalize this community.
West Virginia is a tough state to navigate. The terrain, the topography of the land makes it hard to move about. So that creates a certain bit of isolation, and that isolation sometimes creates an environment where people don't want to change. They want things to be different, but they don't want to change. They want things to be better, but they don't want to change. I think West Virginians are survivalists in a lot of the time, and what they have survived is a lot of time their value. They love to talk about how hard they work, how hard their life is. They're very honest, hardworking people. But sometimes I feel like they forget that that doesn't have to be the way that your life has to be all the time. There's moments of life where you can be happy and you can enjoy things for just the sake of enjoying them. I feel like the lack of hope that has come into West Virginia because of people leaving the state, the well-publicized addiction issues that we have here, the poverty that's going on, all of that has robbed so many people of hope. And if you don't have hope, then you don't see what's possible. And if you don't see what's possible, then you don't know that when someone's come in to help make things better, you don't want to trust those people, or you feel like you are concerned that it will change too much, or you have been in some ways brainwashed about the way things are if you change things. So it's a push against a mindset that is not necessarily the fault of the people who feel that way, I think, for me. I had always been looking at properties here in the area because there's a medical school, and we thought we could always have it for rental for students. And one night I was looking through a real estate ad or real estate listings, and I don't even know which real estate company. It was at the very, very bottom. There was this building that was very cheap, and I knew what the building was, and I thought that was a good investment. So we bought it, and we moved back to redo the building. And while we were here, we decided that we wanted to stay. That's how it kind of got there.
We've ended up falling into this path that to this day we keep telling ourselves we're just going to keep following this path until it is no longer sustainable, until it no longer works for us. And like I said, we came here to renovate the building, and as we were renovating, we thought, well, what if we put a restaurant in this building? I've always wanted a restaurant, so maybe that's what'll happen. But then one thing led to another. There were issues with the building. We then had to go back to LA because the world was opening up, and we didn't know what our lives were going to look like. And before we left, someone asked us if we would take over this old cafe that was closing, and we agreed to do that. And it was one of those things that, like, what was going to be a temporary time in Ronsford to create something to make passive income has now turned into our life's work. And it was not what we were expecting when we first moved here. When it comes to coming to West Virginia as a foodie, it's wonderful because there are so many things that you don't find anywhere else. You can experience it here, and I really think that West Virginia has a chance to capitalize on especially pawpaw and like make it our own. Like, this is a thing that grows here. We should be really proud of it. We should be canning it, selling it around the country. Like, there should be a way of us taking this like very unique and special fruit and putting West Virginia on a map in a different way. So I also make pawpaw curd for pastries. I wanted to bring a diversity that I think this area could really benefit from, especially students from the medical school who are more diverse, like giving them something new. So with this cafe, not only am I bringing my Cuban culture in with like guava con queso pastelitos that I've also turned into scones, I want to like incorporate flavors from the places that we've traveled. We've been to Asia, so we have like Thai tea that I want to make here. There's horchata that I want to make here. Like, there's foods that don't really exist here that I plan on bringing that are more than just my culture, is cultures that I've experienced and immersed myself in, that I think people here should have. Because I feel like food, while sharing culture, is also a way of like opening yourself up to the world without having to travel. If you try new flavors, if you try new things, you learn about yourself. You learn about these other places through food. It's just such a great connector for people. And I think there's nothing more powerful than sitting down together and breaking bread over a meal and just having that time to talk and experience another culture through food.
What I really have gotten is the importance of getting involved in communities and getting your hands dirty and working with other people. That's what I've really gained the most, I guess, is what it takes to bring a town back. It takes so many people doing all these different jobs, things that you don't even know have to get done until they have to get done. And I think that's sort of how I feel, yeah.
I think what's been really important and impactful for us is we exist in this community as an openly gay couple. We have businesses. We are very involved in the community. We're at every city council meeting. We are on boards. We show up for volunteer events. And I think in places like this, in areas like this in this country, people don't have a lot of reference as to what a gay couple is. They know what they've been told by certain media outlets. They know what they've been told by their churches. They know what they've been told by specific people. And I think us existing in this space and people seeing us daily, people, interacting with us in ways that they've never interacted with a gay person or a gay couple before, I think offers us an opportunity to use our lived experience to shift some of the mindsets when it comes to how LGBTQ plus people should be treated in rural America, where we fit in rural America. I think one thing, and it hasn't really been a roadblock for us, we've experienced it and we've been able to educate people and push through things, is the nuance of homophobia that people don't realize that exists, where it's not calling me a faggot. That's obviously homophobic, and it's very obvious homophobia. But it's we had an experience because my husband got a dog park built, which was a really great success. It's bringing people down to Ronsford that have never been here before. People from Lewisburg come down now to bring their dogs. We have people driving an hour and a half to come to this dog park because it's the only dog park in southern West Virginia. It's a really big deal. But in building the dog park, it impeded on this mud bog that happened once a year where no money went to the city. The city always had to hold the liability, and the city had to do the cleanup. So we decided that, the city was you can put the dog park there. So we went ahead, started mapping things out and getting that all squared away. And we didn't see this because we're not friends with these kinds of people on Facebook. But there was one night where my mother-in-law called my husband, in tears because she saw all these posts coming up on Facebook about how they know where we live, they were threatening us over a dog park. And in that moment we were able to educate my mother-in-law and be no, what this is that they're seeing a gay couple succeed and do things, and this dog park is giving them a very convenient veil to hide their homophobia. They're not mad about a dog park. They don't care about the dog park. At the end of the day, that's not what matters. What matters is that it's a gay couple who's come into their community and changed something that they thought was theirs when it never was, because it's a public park. So while it's been a pretty easy transition to live here, we have come up with a few of those. That's just one example of like the nuanced homophobia that we faced here, which is terrifying when you think about the fact that they're like writing on Facebook that they know where we live and they can take care of it and all this stuff. But it was also a learning moment for my mother-in-law, for her to be like, who are my friends? Why are they saying this about my son? And realizing that it's not the dog part. They're just mad that it's a gay couple doing something here. So I don't consider them roadblocks because they didn't stop us. The dog park is open. It is thriving. The issue is educating people on how their actions, their inaction, or the way that some people are speaking is homophobic at the end of the day.
As we walk into a room, oftentimes people know our politics. They know all this stuff about, they know where we stand on a lot of these issues. And then they also have a lot of preconceived notions about what we are as gay people. So it gives us a lot of space to really be ourselves and be openly gay and also not what they think of gay, or maybe what they do think of gay. But regardless, it gives us a space to be ourselves. And it's kind of freeing, actually, in a lot of ways. It's great. I would love to put walkways, pathways, bridges over the river, back over the river. I would love to create just this walking community. I also would love to be able to get rid of the buildings that need to go and build in new structures. Don't leave the space empty. Put in new, interesting, architecturally interesting spaces. I would love to have just art around the city for art's sake, things that people walk by. If they don't even know what it means, they just walk past this art all the time. I would love to see that sort of growth happen in the city. I think it would be, because I feel like West Virginians don't always prioritize their happiness. Oftentimes West Virginians are just surviving. They get to work, they get their kids to school, they just can barely think about anything else. How can they think about their own happiness? And I feel like we need to create spaces and things for people to feel happy about. And then that happiness penetrates into their own life. And the next thing you know, they're happier and their families are happier and the town is happier.
Prioritize your happiness. And that comes from coming to LA and coming here. And we found ourselves at one point like losing our happiness. We became the West Virginians that struggled, and we were like, but we started with like, I think the way we started to just like finding moments of little joys, like we got an espresso machine and we make ourselves like a little coffee drink during the day, and that brings us just a little bit of joy and it makes us happy. So that's why we talk a lot about like the happiness in this area. One thing that we have discussed a lot and I would love to see happen is preserving the Black history of Ronsford. Ronsford is a Black town. This is where the Black school was. It's like historically a Black community, and a lot of the structures. There's one building, it was the Green Hotel. It was built in 1901 and it was owned by a woman. Her name escapes me. And when she died, her son took it over. And now it was near the Armory. It's where all the Black entertainers would stay when they came through. I think Louis Armstrong stayed there. And there was the original guest book that the person who had it at one point just threw away. And so you lose all of that history. And it's recently been purchased and completely gutted on the inside and just changed to the point to where you can no longer recognize it for the building it was. So we've lost this like really important historical building in the town. And the man who took it over integrated the pool here. He integrated the public pool. So he was a very important member of the community and he ran this hotel, and now we've lost that history. So if I had the unlimited resource, I think that's one of the first things I would try to do is like, how do we capture and save and share this really robust and vibrant history of this town that is slowly being taken away from us. There's a theater in town, old building. It's just the shell of a building at this point, but it was designed by a Black architect in I think the 1920s when that like did not happen. And so it's a very special historical building. But because an absentee LLC owns it and bought it for like $3,000 and will only let go of it for $26,000, it's slowly getting to a point where it's going to have to be condemned and turned down. So we're going to lose another piece of history because of an absentee landlord who doesn't care about the community, and they refuse to let go of these things. So that's what I would love to find a way to preserve this history.
Well, we're going to keep building out the Hollywood House, which is where we currently are seated. This is our house. We live here, but it's also an event space and an inn. So we're going to keep building this out. We're going to do some work on the gardens around the house and make it expand the property out a little bit more into the outside, figuring out ways of getting people in and out. We're also going to get our cafe going, which Jorge is going to be managing and taking care of. The cafe will offer the breakfast for the bed and breakfast and can offer catering for the events. And then once we get this project going, then we'll figure out what the next one is and how we can expand the footprint here and what we can do to either get more people into Ronsford or getting the name of Ronsford out and about so that more people know about Ronsford. I would like to see this city continue to grow. I want to help that part.
The name of the cafe is the Ronsford. No vowels, because we're hip and cool. So the name of the cafe is the Ronsford, and the reason that we named it that is we're just really inspired by the potential of the community. We love the town. We, want to create something that people can be really proud of. And also, every time you go to the cafe, you say the name of the town. Everyone will always be saying Ronsford when they come to our cafe. And it's just a way of us getting the name of the town out there just a little bit further and keeping Ronsford in people's minds.
That's what I love you.
I love you.